Okay, today we're gonna be doing some dream catchers, and I'm gonna be doing them in like shades of browns, gold, and like a teal blue. So you'll be needing some permanent markers, gold paint or any choice you want, some suede recording, some beads, glue sticks, some glue gun, scissors, some hoops, whatever you want. You can use the wired ones. I have wooden ones here. And you're gonna need some cardstock. Because I made my own feathers, you can use regular feathers. And I folded the sheets in half and glued them shut so that they have a design on both sides or color. And some burlap. So I made a template of all the feather shapes I was gonna use, and I labeled them for each color and the burlap. So here I'm just gonna trace the shape on the paper and cut it out. And I did the same with the burlap. I traced it and cut it out. I was just very careful because burlap does fray, and I didn't want it to fray. And I used the permanent markers to draw a line down the center just to give it that more of a look like a feather. And I did it on both sides, and then I kind of just shaded it and drew lines going, kind of like mimic the shape of the feather. And I used the hot glue gun to keep the edges from fraying, so I added a little line of glue all the way around so that, like I said, it doesn't fray. And I just used the scissors to cut any little pieces that were sticking out. And with the paper feathers, again, I did the line down the middle just to make it look more like a feather. And I painted the edges with gold. I trimmed it all the way around on both sides. And the gold did really make it look a lot nicer. It made it look a lot more chic and, I want to say, elegant, kind of like fancier. And on the gold or yellow feathers, I thinned out whatever paint was on the lid, and then I just did a thin coat over the feather, just so that it was real shiny and more gold looking more than yellow. And to make it look like feathers, I did cut little slits all the way around, but I did it following the shape of the curves so that it looked more realistic. And I made them as thin as possible, and I kind of didn't do them all the same length. So some cuts were longer than others, and some were shorter, just so that it looked more realistic. And here's the hoop. I did attach I used the suede cording for this to wrap it around, and I just did add a little dollop glue just to keep it from moving. And this is very simple and self-explanatory. You just keep wrapping it around. This did take about 15 minutes. It's a little time consuming. And there's just a lot to wrap around. So the bigger the loop you get, the more you're gonna have to wrap. And these little spools, I got them at the dollar spot at Target, and they were 5 yards each, and I did use almost 2. So if you want to do it bigger, I don't know if that helps, but these were about 6-inch hoops, about between 5 to 6-inch hoops. And there's the hoop done. I did use hot glue again at the very end to keep the last piece attached. So this part I'm just using a different kind of cording. It's kind of like twine. I did do a knot, and then I do put a little dollop of glue to keep it in place. So doing the weaving on it was a little more complicated, I'm not gonna lie, but it's just kind of like over and then under. So that's just so that the cord stays there. So again, I glued it to make sure it stayed, but same thing. So the cord goes under, then over, and then under the cord again. I hope this makes sense, but you can see what I'm doing. So it's pretty repetitive. You're just gonna be doing it's the same thing over and over and over. And every time I tie it around the hoop, it's adjustable, so I do like move it around to make sure that I have like the spacing's even in between each knot. So once I did the first row, I did add all my beads. I did cut the cord and then add all the beads. And I used 6 beads. I think in a traditional one it's supposed to be 13, but I just used 6. I didn't have enough beads. And I made these out of polymer clay and then painted the gold ones. The rest, the polymer clay was that color. But you can use store-bought beads, any kind of bead you want. You can even do shape beads. I've seen some done with little hearts or stars, but I'm doing it for my bedroom and I wanted it to match, so I picked out colors that matched. And I loop it through, and then I just push it all the way through, and I'm gonna put them in. You'll see in a second. I'll like keep them out so that they stay in between. So just like I said, keep looping it over and then under, over and under. So right here I'm going to put the first bead, so you just kind of gotta hold it and then loop it again over and under, and once you hoop it through, it stays in that specific spot. It can slide up from side to side. I did hot glue mine so that it wouldn't move, but I'm tightening it right here, and it'll, like I said, it's looped in there. And when I got to the center, I did, instead of tying it off, I hot glued it. Put a little dollop of glue just so that it stay. And this twine I use frayed a lot, so I did kind of trim off the pieces that were sticking out. And I used that chocolate brown suede for the piece that's gonna tie and loop through for the, like where the nail will be on for the walls to hang it. And I did glue it on here so that it wouldn't move. So here I measured out the pieces how long I wanted them, and each piece that I did loop through, I made sure that it hung twice so that I got 2 pieces out of it. That way I didn't have to tie so many pieces. So I just looped them and then put a little dollop of glue to keep it in place. And I put them all in exactly the same way. I just started from the edges. I picked out which side I wanted it to be, that one end and the other, and then filled in the center. And here I'm just putting beads and then doing a little knot. And since the suede is thick, the bead hole, I made it with a toothpick, so the bead hole isn't very big. And here I'm just using a blue, so I just alternated it in the colors that I used so that it had a different colors and shades in it. And on these blue ones, I did do 4 strands on each one. And I picked one of them and I cut it down so that the feather hung up higher. And here I do put, it looks like I'm smearing it off, but I'm just kind of thinning it out so that it has reinforcement so it doesn't tear so easily. And I just glue the feather on, and then I use a little piece of twine of the same color and wrap it around. It makes it look neater. So I just wrapped it around, put a dollop of glue before and then at the very end. And like I said, it's very repetitive, so it's just looping different shades or different types of cords. And I use different colors and different lengths. I did start shorter on the edges, and I had it get longer as I went towards the center. So the edge pieces, like the chocolate brown, was shorter, and the more I went towards the center, the longer they got. And you can use whatever. You can use lace, you can use ribbon, trims, but I just used dot cording. And on some of these blue ones, I did do little knots just to give it a little more contrast of different types. See, you can did little knots on some of them. And there they are. And there's, like I said, I did 2. This one's the chocolate brown, and the feathers look really cool actually, even though they're not real. And then I did this one was more like a beige color, and they came out really cool. Well, thanks for watching, and I hope you guys subscribe. Thanks.